Marcus, we're at Ovum Digital Futures in London. You were on a panel this morning talking about, well, the key theme was smarter strategies for the smarter customer. But within that discussion, there was a focus on the future of physical networks and how that's going to impact those strategies. And one of the things you homed in on, actually, in your individual presentation was the importance of latency and how that is going to impact network planning and I guess network investments. Can you just talk a little bit about that and the distributed cloud? I guess?
Yeah, the distributed cloud, it's fun stuff. Yeah, so what we've been looking at is human responsiveness at the, if we're talking or looking at each other, the brain processes that in 100 milliseconds, and we've built networks that support 100 milliseconds. Makes sense, right? Started with a voice call. If I can't perceive your voice faster than 100 milliseconds, why do I build something more complicated? So networks were built like that, and that means that the signals pass through switching centers, data centers, that it can be 10,000 kilometers away, because that's how far light can go in 100 milliseconds, round trip. But there are a set of systems now in the new world we imagine. Some of them are related to VR, AR, some related to machines, which need 1 millisecond of latency. And then I can only go 100 kilometers round trip at the speed of light. So I can't go faster than the speed of light, I can only go 100 kilometers round trip. So now you immediately see you have to rebuild networks to sort of have a 100-kilometer extent. What do I mean? Yeah, there's the access portion, which is the radio bandwidth and 5G and things like that. But then there's the aggregation to an edge cloud that can only be 100 kilometers away. And in the edge cloud, of course, is not just the network itself, because we're virtualizing networks, but the application, the analytics, the AI system, the security system. So the whole thing gets rendered in a 100-kilometer extent, which to me is a huge opportunity for those who are in that space to innovate and own future value, perhaps more than the web scale players have the ability to do that, because of course they'd have to expand massively in that direction. So I think there's a brand new reality and value proposition for telco around that edge cloud, massively distributed sort of networking.
Okay. So that all makes sense in the grander scheme of things, where networks are going, how services are evolving, and yet what we're not seeing currently is any significant investment, it would seem, in that kind of distributed cloud architecture. Why is that? Is that too early? Are strategies still being sorted out? Is there no money?
It's a bit of all those, I think. I think there's a belief system that has to develop. I think everyone now believes that what I just said is roughly right. So
because
that's
you said it.
I hope it's because I said it, but I think actually it's based on physics, right? So in the end, They get that. There's this sense that they have, operators have property in those locations, central offices, switching centers, so those can be transformed, and rather than sell them off, they have to make the decision not to sell them all, but actually to transform them. There's a skill set of now I have to become sort of an edge cloud provider, which is not the same as being an access network provider. And yes, then there's the quest for the business model. Who's going to pay to have their application hosted local, not global, right? Not in a centralized cloud, because no one's done that so far. So I think all those things sort of remove momentum or prevent the sort of creation of momentum. But I think it's happening, and actually we're seeing some of the web scale companies begin to recognize the need for low latency, and that can be a very important stimulant. So we see AWS saying they've just launched Greengrass, which is their distributed IoT platform. It needs an edge cloud. And the edge cloud could actually be on your prem, but if not on your prem, then it's a multi-access edge cloud sort of from telco space. And so they're very interested in those multiple clouds, and so that could be the stimulus. Well, those guys are seeing it now. We're seeing it from the physicsy perspective. I think there'll be momentum. And I showed these productivity curves. The early phase, and everyone always says this on exponential growth, the early phase looks linear. And it's only when you sort of really start getting past or close to the tipping point, you know it's exponential. And I think that's right. So I'm optimistic that those things will come together, momentum will appear, business model will appear, assets will be built, and we'll get there. But we would have said that for the last 20 years, that the telecom industry will reinvent itself. I just think this time around, all the factors align, and in fact that will be the reality.
That distributed cloud will be built. Let's just wait and see who builds it.
Good point.
Marcus,
thanks, Greg.
Thanks a lot.